Oh yeah, maybe this
A
is now the
block of
opening.
Parmesan.
Like, of course, Parmesan's great, but I don't want to chomp into it.
Oh, I love a dry cheese.
Not for chomping though. For chomping, I want ultimate tooth retention. If I see a wheel of camembert or brie, I want to chomp that.
You like the soft cheeses.
But the medium ones, like your Goudas and cheddars and stuff, it still shows a good tooth mark.
True. I like a Gouda and a cheddar. I'm
For
not
chomping
huge
purposes or just for
on
general?
Just for general
Huh.
and for chomping, because I chomp all my cheese.
Yeah, that's true. I don't ever like bite into a large wheel of cheese like you like to.
That makes me sound like a crazy person.
No,
but yeah.
it's just a cheese lover. There's so many people out there right now going like, yeah, of course I chomp
Yeah.
cheese. I'm chomping cheese right now.
It's so satisfying.
All right, let's start our podcast.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of I Love This, You Should Too.
Cheese.
That's going to be, wasn't that your thing of the week once, is just cheese?
I don't think so.
Well, that voice is my lovely co-host, Samantha, Cheese Chomper Randhawa.
I knew
And
it.
I am your other host, Indy, Nibbler Randhawa.
Wow. Nibbler.
I'm more of a nibbler.
You are a cheese nibbler.
You're a
you have more
chomper.
self-control than I do.
I just, you know me, I'm going to think about it and then I'm like, well, now I have to do this many more kilometers or something.
Yeah, I don't think like that.
You shouldn't. That's the right way to be. But we aren't going to be giving you dieting tips here today. What are we going to do, Sam?
We're going to talk about our favorite cheeses.
Oh.
Where they originate from. I'm kidding. We are in the middle of Romance Month. And Indy, it's your turn to bring us our big watch for next week. But we're also going to have 2 spoiler-free things of the fortnight. So, Indy, why don't you kick us off?
2 things. First, I remember that it wasn't actually you that used cheese as a thing of the fortnight. It was me.
Oh.
I think in my Christmas things of the fortnight, one of them was brie.
Interesting.
I think that was the thing, right?
Cheese is great.
Yeah. Second, I would like to go second today.
Okay.
Because
Do they
of
go together?
reasons that will soon become clear.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, Samantha,
Yes.
what do you have for your romantic thing of the fortnight?
So my romantic thing of the fortnight is called Redeeming Love. And it's a 2022 Western romance film.
Oh, like Western as in from the Western world or like a cowboy movie?
Cowboy movie.
Oh, I don't know anything about this.
So it is got some like major Christian undertones to it.
Okay.
So I have a feeling that that's like where all the financing came from. But it is based on a book of the same name, which is also kind of based on the biblical story of Hosea. Do you know this? Do you know about
No.
that?
Is it Hosea?
I don't know. Like, how should I say it?
I don't know.
Okay. But it's about a woman who her mother falls into hard times and basically has to become a sex worker to survive. And she becomes a sex worker as well because she's basically like sold into the trade. And then she's saved by a farmer.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's from the Bible.
I think so.
That's like an Old Testament story.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So she is working in a town in California during like the gold rush. in
This part is
California.
not from the Bible.
This part is not from the Bible.
Okay. Gotcha.
And she's working in a place called Paradise, and
Oh.
she basically is proposed to by a farmer named Michael, who just keeps going back and proposing to her until she has to flee and he takes her home with him and they get married. And then
Did you just spoil the ending?
No,
Oh.
this is like 20 minutes into the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is like setting the scene.
What's the name of this movie again?
Redeeming Love.
Where did you see this movie?
Netflix.
Okay. Is it a Netflix movie?
No.
It's just like a Christian cowboy movie that you saw on
It's
Netflix.
a Christian cowboy movie. I saw clips of it on TikTok, and it's got Nina Dobrev and Eric Dane in it, who I know from like other things. So I was like, oh, I know who those two people are. And then I like looked into it a little bit more, and it kind of sounded kind of fun. So then I watched it, not knowing just how like Bible-y it is.
Oh, okay. Keep going.
So they she has to struggle with her demons, and
Are they literal demons?
no,
Okay.
like her.
Well, I don't know how biblical this gets. So.
It's not that biblical. Her name is Angel because of course it is, and his name is Michael because of course it is. And he basically gives her this life on this farm and says, like, you're safe now. You don't have to like worry about your past or anything like that. And she keeps running away basically to like face her demons and learn how to be. Basically, she wants to make something of herself. I don't want to say anymore because like that kind of ruins the ending. But
okay,
it's basically her coming to terms with her past and realizing that she's like allowed to be loved.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I thought it was actually like quite good for like a sappy kind of romance movie. I enjoyed it. And the ending I thought was quite nice. It's a like very Old West themed though. I love the parts that are like in paradise because it's very much like old-timey saloon and like women with like off the shoulder dresses and corsets and stuff. So it was kind of fun to see.
I have so many follow-up questions, but I feel like essentially would just ask for the plot of the story because it seems weird. It seems like a very weird movie to me, but I have no idea. I haven't seen anything about this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to like give too much away, obviously, because if you're gonna go watch it and
right,
it's in the title, spoiler free. But yeah, it is available on Canadian Netflix. I don't know about US Netflix. And it's 134 minutes long.
All right, that's the most important part of the review. But you'd say this is a good movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think you can't take it too seriously.
Okay.
But it was like a fun.
Is it fun and light, or is it deeply Christian and inspirational? And
no, it's
women must earn the right to be loved.
No, it's fun and light.
Okay.
It's fun and light. There is some like internal struggle that she goes through, but I wouldn't say it's super Bible-y or judgy.
Does anyone pray to God and then have their prayer answered?
Yes.
Okay. Are there literal angels?
No.
Okay. So that's the line.
Yeah.
It's right in the middle of those.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like a 2 out of 5 on the Christometer.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. The Christometer.
Would you say outside of Christmas movies, is this your favorite Christian movie?
Oh. See, that's not like a lens I ever like watch anything through. And only when I read about it after did I realize that it was like so Bible-y.
Kind of seems like you should have. Seen
I don't
that.
know. I don't analyze like you do. I just watch things.
Wait, so when Angel didn't feel she was worthy of living in paradise, that movie? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it is pretty subtle.
Didn't click. But it was a fun, light watch, and I recommend it.
All right. My favorite Christian movie is that Nick Cage Left Below or Left Behind. It's like the rapture happens.
Oh.
It's a Nick Cage action movie in the rapture.
Okay.
It's great fun.
Something about that does not surprise me.
It's ridiculous. It was the Kirk Cameron series, but then they wanted to get someone bigger name and they just abandoned Kirk Cameron despite all the, him throwing his career away for them.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, he's doing fine. He's seems real crazy now.
That's even sadder.
But I think he's a happy crazy.
Good. That's all we can ask for. Okay. Well, you can watch Redeeming Love on Netflix. Indy?
Yes.
What's next? What are we doing now? What's going on?
It's one of those silly days.
Yeah.
So I had my romance movie, and spoiler for, I don't know what I'm going to say in 5 minutes.
Okay.
It's In the Mood for Love.
Okay.
That is a fantastic movie. I love it. I was going between that or Cinema Paradiso, but I went with this because I think it's been a long time since I did a movie that I actually love. And that's kind of the name of the podcast, so I should be doing more of those. So, I love this movie, but it is kind of informally part of a trilogy. So then I was thinking, do we do all 3 movies? That seems like too much for something that, although I think some of the best movies ever, niche to our audience, and probably a lot of people haven't seen them all. So I thought we could just do the one, but part 3, I also haven't seen since it came out, and I would love to rewatch it and get into it because I think that's a movie that needs a little bit of work, a conversation to fully appreciate.
Okay, yeah.
So here is the plan.
Okay.
Days of Being Wild from 1990 will be my thing of the fortnight. I'm going to tell you all about that.
Okay.
Then we will watch In the Mood for Love.
Uh-huh.
And probably we will watch 2046, the third part.
Okay.
So probably 2 features.
Okay.
But right now, my thing of the week is the 1990 Hong Kong drama romance Days of Being Wild.
Okay.
So Days of Being Wild is, I think, the second film from Wong KarWai, and he is maybe my favorite director, but definitely in that conversation. We did his movie Chungking Express in the past on this, and I say that is my favorite movie ever made. So I'm a big fan of his stuff. And this is a movie he did before it. It stars Leslie Chung, Andy Chow, Maggie Chung, and Karina Lau, I guess, is big too. And it is mostly just these few characters. It somehow takes place in Hong Kong where you don't see crowds of people. It all seems very lonely. And to me at first, it was like, oh yeah, they probably couldn't afford all that. And then I thought, oh no, they actually are in Hong Kong. How do they afford not to have all of that? But it is a real low budget movie because this is just when he was getting started. And this movie was not well received when it came out because his first movie has a lot more of that action element, and people thought, oh, this guy makes action elements but with some cool style and a little bit of romance. But what they learned after seeing more of his work, he makes romance movies with a cool style and a little bit of action, and people didn't like that when the action was so much smaller in this one. But I love it. The look is very unique. It really looks like it's underwater half the time. There's a lot of blues and greens. It's a romance movie at its heart, but not a typical one, I guess. It's not a everything works out in the end. Maybe some things work out, but it's not one where everybody is going to be happy. It's fundamentally a movie about searching for love, yeah, but also searching for belonging. And there's those themes of rebellion, and that's why it's called Days of Being Wild. But it's more related to being rootless and restless rather than any sort of like violent rebellion. And it's a bit of a throwback to these 50s and 60s, they're called Afei movies that were taking place in China that I had fun learning about this week. When I was working out downstairs, I was watching documentaries on Afei cinema. So that was kind of fun.
Hey.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit about in our last movie, One True Loves, Sam gave the speech. Sam, the character, not Sam, my wife.
Yeah, not me. I didn't give a speech. I don't give a lot of speeches.
That's true, but you give more speeches than the average human.
True.
Anyways,
yeah.
In this, a lot of these characters feel like they are the main character of their story and everything revolves around them, but we get to see the breakups, the makeups, and that things continue on despite one person and things just keep going. The main character is probably the one played by Leslie Chung, and he is an incredibly interesting biography if you're not familiar with him, because he was a Chinese singer first and foremost and was huge. And I was about to say, imagine someone as big as Justin Timberlake started being in movies. And then I was like, oh yeah, he is in a lot of movies. But imagine then Justin Timberlake was also winning Oscars.
Okay, yeah,
because he was at that level. He was winning like Best Actor awards and doing gritty dramas and romances, not just kind of lighter stuff.
Yeah.
Although Timberlake's actually a pretty solid actor.
Yeah.
And he's no Leslie Chung, but
he's like a good comedic actor too.
Yeah. But then Leslie Chung also comes out as bisexual. And this is in the early 90s in China and not as well received. And it's not well received now, but definitely it was a shock to a lot of people in the cinema and music world, and in the really if you're consuming Chinese media. So that was a huge story. But the saddest part is he was also suffering from depression and ended up jumping out of a window and killing himself at quite a young age. So his story was, he was a big deal. And this was this kind of small artsy movie that he's in. So he plays the lead, and his character is kind of, he's a lot like a typical playboy that we would see in a lot of other movies, but it's a little more complex. It's not that he's just this douchebag. He's someone who has just been avoiding the consequences of his actions, and this movie gets into some of the reasons why he is the way he is. It's not saying that this arrogant playboy is a victim, but is showing that the self-destructiveness of that kind of behavior. And while I feel so many other movies either glamorize it or say like, what, it's a bit, look at this bad guy, and he falls into a fountain and we know that he's a loser. This goes into how harmful his actions are to himself. And he has like mother issues that are clearly a part of it. And it is a little too simplistic, the reading that we get in a lot of other movies for something like this. But then the movie also goes seamlessly between kind of three main characters, and you're never quite sure whose story it is, because it's nobody's story. Nobody is the main character, and that's kind of the point of it. Everyone comes and goes, and love comes and goes. And I'm not really spoiling anything in linking it to the next movie, because in the final shot of this movie, we get a new character, someone we've never seen before, and he gets the final shot of the movie. And that character is one of the two main characters in the next movie, In the Mood for Love.
Okay.
So it's loosely a trilogy because one of the characters appears in the next movie, and the second character of the next movie appears in one scene of this movie. But they're not really the same character. They kind of are not. Rather than it being a trilogy in the sense that this plot and these characters continue through three movies, the ideas around love and acceptance and belonging, those continue through the three movies. With some characters do continue in, but you're never quite sure if that's even supposed to be the same person. It's the same actor and they have the same name. But when they talk in the next movie, they don't have that shared past.
So it's not like immediately connected like some movies.
So you don't need to see this movie to appreciate the next one.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, so that's why I felt like I'll just do it like this.
I was going to ask you about that, because I was like, well, how are we watching like the last two of this trilogy without seeing the first one? But that makes sense.
So Li Zhen, Maggie Cheung's character, exists in the next movie as well. But it doesn't seem like the same person to me. But they have the same name. And then Tony Leung's character, who is in the next movie, it's the two leads in The Mood for Love, he appears in about 20 seconds of this movie and never speaks.
Oh, okay.
So you're like, that. So it's more about the themes. And the themes of this movie are about these cycles of rejection, or that saying, hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. We get to see that. And this is perhaps the youth. This is love at a younger age, in the days of being wild.
Right.
Oh, I'm just kind of putting this together right now. And then we're going to get to see a more mature love in The Mood for Love. And I think, if I'm correct, we're going to see a more reflective look back on one's life in the third movie, 2046, but all centering around love and romance.
Is 2046 like a future movie?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll talk all about why that date is significant once we get to that. But the room number that they stay in is 2046.
Okay. That's what I was wondering, was whether it's like,
but it's also
a
kind of a
place or like a time.
That's a good question. We're going to spend about an hour answering that question.
Perfect. Can't wait.
Yeah, so this movie is about kind of people who fall in love against their better judgment, themes that we're going to see more of. People who can clearly see who they should be with, but of course don't convince themselves of that enough to act on it. And then if you look at things like the dialects or the locations that are mentioned in this movie, I think you can take it that it's an allegory for Hong Kong itself.
Oh.
It's so much of his movies are about Hong Kong and the Hong Kong experience. You can look at this and this feeling between this is a time when Hong Kong was kind of adrift between the British and the Chinese, and these characters are also adrift and rootless, and there's a lot of things that you can draw parallels to. But we're not going to analyze this movie. I'm just going to say that it is a good romantic movie, but more an exploration on those days of being wild, and it's a real good introduction into the style of Wong Kar-wai, which we will talk a lot about next week.
Excellent.
So that was Days of Being Wild, and next week's big watch is going to be the movie In the Mood for Love from 2000. This is another Wong Kar-wai movie, is a loose sequel, and this is one of those movies that I think is one of my favorite movies, one of the best movies ever made. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Haven't seen it in a while.
Big words.
I love it. I love this movie. And it used to be when we started this podcast, there were a bunch of movies that I was like, yeah, this is a 10 out of 10 movie. This is a 10 out of 10. Last season, I think I had one.
Oh.
And I haven't had one yet this season.
Okay.
So I predict this might be a 10 out of 10 movie for me.
Do you think it's going to be a 10 out of 10 movie for me?
No.
Okay.
Because I think you'll say that it's not fun enough.
Okay.
It's rare. I can't think of a movie you gave a 10 to that isn't fun.
Yeah, you're right. That's good. I trust you to know me better than I know myself. So
I think this can get into the 8 to 9 range with you, possibly.
okay.
Also, you don't often give something that's not in English a more than an 8. Usually.
Good point.
There are some exceptions, but those are usually fun cartoons.
True.
So that's my prediction. I think you're still going to really like it, though.
Okay.
Because it's that good. And it's also not terribly long. So I think you'll like that.
Okay.
And although subtitled, there is not a lot of dependency on dialogue to convey the plot.
Oh, that's good. Because, yeah, sometimes when it's like subtitled and you just have to do all the reading, then, like I've mentioned before, subtitles are hard for me because then I don't watch what's going on screen because I'm too focused on reading.
And in this movie, you should absolutely watch the screen.
Okay.
It is one of the most beautiful movies, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not in that there's very cool effects like I love in the animated Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
It's not that there's these big epic vistas or anything like that. It's all shots in apartments and diners and things like that, but it looks gorgeous.
Okay. Well, I'm excited about that.
And I think you will appreciate the style as far as how people are dressed. This is, I think, 1962. It's in the early 60s
fun.
in Hong Kong, and there are some great dresses.
I'm excited about that. You know, I love watching a movie for like the fashion.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see some 1960 Hong Kong fashion.
And I guess I'm kind of talking to you, but maybe our audience as a whole who doesn't watch a lot of foreign cinema or something, this is one that you can let kind of wash over you. Mm-hmm. If you miss a line or two, it's probably going to be not as important as looking at performances and watching the screen.
Okay.
So I put priority on that. It's not about analyzing how each technical thing works and like what it makes you feel, and of course I'm who I am, so I'm going to get into a bit of that on the main episode next week. But I think this movie is very well served just to sit and to feel it. Like, there wasn't good words to describe how I felt about Wong Kar-wai cinema in the past, but now, or if this was 10 years ago, you take a still from any one of these movies and you put it on your Tumblr and you just say mood. That's what these movies are. Now
it's a
you'd
total
say
mood.
Like, it's about the vibes.
Oh, it's all about the vibes.
Wong Kar-wai is about the vibes.
Nice.
So I am going to try to introduce him to our Gen Zers, because I think if they watched it, that's what they'd be like. Oh yeah, it's just all about the vibes.
It's a vibe.
His movies are such a vibe.
It's a total vibe.
You're gonna watch it, and I think that's what you're gonna say at the end. Like, wow, it's such a vibe.
I'm excited.
So it's called In the Mood for Love. It's from the year 2000. It's mostly in Cantonese. Some Shanghaiese? Is that what you'd call the dialect from Shanghai? Let's say Shanghaiese.
Sure.
Some of that. And that's so important that it's those two. But we'll talk about that next week too.
Excellent.
I feel like it's been a while since we did an Indy's film school kind of.
Yeah, it's Indy's film school, guys.
So it might be one of those. But that being said, don't think of this movie as one of, oh, let's watch all of these technical things and see how great they are.
Yeah.
It's all about the vibes.
It's those vibes.
You're going to
Let's go get those vibes.
You're going to get everything the director wants you to get best when you're not looking for it. You don't have to sit and appreciate everything. You just let it wash over you and see how you feel at the end.
Yeah.
That's what Wong KarWai movies are all about.
It's a total mood.
And then if you want to get into all of the other stuff, that's what I'm here for, and that's what next week's all about.
Excellent.
Until then, just go along with the ride. It's all about the vibes, man.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
It's really hard to hold a mouth of Prosecco
Oh,
while you're also not breathing.
That's how you should be podcasting, with a mouthful of Prosecco.
Well, yeah, that's the aim.